Hello and welcome to the Raw Preview Podcast. I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, joined by the Dudley Boys of WhatCulture, sort of Michael Hamlet and Andy Murray from WhatCulture, to look ahead to tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review Raw and SmackDown, but also the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT pay-per-views. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. But as I said, joined by Michael Hamlet. Welcome back.
Hi, and welcome back to you, I understand, as well.
Thank you very much. And Andy Murray.
Patient Zero
I've
himself.
never been off, baby. I've never been off. Undefeated, uninfected, and undisputed.
And we are looking ahead, as I said, to Monday Night Raw tonight. The go-home show ahead of Crown Jewel.
Mad that, isn't it?
Excited?
No. Well, kind of, because, like, from a traditional earnest wrestling fan perspective, I'm not looking forward to the show. However, I love the Carnival of Bollocks. I've said this countless times before. This week could be one of the greatest Carnivals of Bollocks all year, because you have Crown Jewel, you have crazy things like cucking storylines going on, you have some weird looking matches set up for this Raw that we'll obviously dive into. It has the potential to be one of the greatest car crash go-home shows in a long time, and I cannot wait to see those wheels fall off.
It's like really oddly stacked. So here's me, earnest WWE fan, that will find things that I'll enjoy theoretically about the show tonight, as we'll go into. There's a couple of matches that I think I've got like potential just to enjoy as the wrestling fan. But then, how can you not go in for some of the big daft segments they've got planned? Not least with Crown Jewel, which is like, it's not a show, it's a spectre. It's a ghost. Yeah. And as I pointed out on SmackDown, not the ghost of a murder journalist, just a ghost that's going to be at a feast for 8 more years. It's a show that nobody really wants to talk about the build to. Like, there's storylines and matches that are taking place in this card that if they were taking place anywhere else on the year, you'd be thinking, oh, that might be quite nice. Team Hogan versus Team Flair might have been a bit of fun for the Survivor Series. Kane Velasquez, Brock Lesnar would have been a genuine WrestleMania match. But nothing feels real on these Saudi Arabia shows. It's like it's taking place on a different planet for a night.
Yeah, it's like probably one of, I don't know, top 3 hindrances to their storytelling.
Yeah.
Like in modern wrestling is the Saudi Arabian shows, because they're forced to just put these big matches that nobody, some people want to see, but like a lot of people will just sit there and hand wave purely because of where they're held.
There's an air of awkwardness about all of it, isn't there? Like, even to the point when they send Ric Flair out there, who me and Murray were discussing over the desk this morning as one of our favourite current promos, because just let the man loose with a live mic and anything can happen.
Yeah.
But he mentioned Saudi 3 or 4 times, and just everybody sort of goes, there's a little bit of awkwardness. Like, we weren't supposed to mention that bit. There's Sami Zayn like castrating half of Team Hogan on SmackDown. He won't even be there because he can't travel. It's everything about it remains weird. And I just feel like, yes, it'll probably feel like from our point of view we're having the same conversations twice a year, but it just, every time it flashes back up, you're like, oh yeah, this is happening again.
Now, one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about ahead of all these other matches that we've got coming up, including Seth Rollins versus Eric Rowan, Falls Count Anywhere, is Rusev and Lana allegedly going to not the King's Court, but to divorce court.
Well, Jerry Lawler is certainly an expert on that topic, so it should be fun, right?
How is this going to go down? Where do we go from here with this storyline?
WWE is not about love letters, it's about love numbers. And if you look at the YouTube videos of Bobby and Lana, they're huge. People are into this daft stuff. I don't know if there's just like the weird visual of seeing Rusev's missus like mac on with another fella or whatever it is. Like, this was going to be one of them storylines that at the end of the year, Vince McMahon will have like quarter hours and we'll rub his hands together saying, see, pal, this is what the people want. This is what they want. This segment being given such a high-profile promotion ahead of the show. It's not just something on the night. We knew about this at the weekend. Jerry Lawler involves himself in this stuff, which almost makes it feel soapier by design. I've got memories of when he was in the middle of the Bella Twins battling, when Nikki was saying that she wished Brie had died in the womb, and there was Lawler like trying to get in the middle of them because he wanted to be in the middle of them. Like, this feels very, very Vince McMahon, but it's the kind of WWE hideousness that I think it's worth steering into. I'd rather this be so bad it's just something we're talking about at the end of the year than another boring storyline beat for Rusev. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd rather have this, like, as crap as it is than some 6-match series where they go 3-3 and the last match ends in a disqualification. It's I've
kind of hammered this point home a lot lately, but I'll make it again. WWE are not in the wrestling business anymore, and this storyline proves this. They're in the content business, and this storyline keeps going and going and going because it's for the same reason that Kavita Devi like shows up every now and then, because she gets mad YouTube clicks because the Indian audience is massive. Here, loads of people, curiosity, whether it's earnest enjoyment, whether they just want to see the wheels all fall off like I do, people are clicking on this thing. Like, it's all
They're
over
living
YouTube.
thumbnails, aren't they?
They are.
They're human thumbnails.
They are. It's instant, clickable content. It's so easy. And this thing could just keep on going forever. When the Bobby Lashley wheels fall off, they'll replace him with some other guy, and we'll have our 17th cuck of the year, and it'll just keep on rolling, baby. Like, I love this. It's such a mess. It won't be long until they replace, like, you know, believable studs like Bobby Lashley with, I don't know, Hornswoggle, just to get even more absurd. And I kind of love that.
Now, we reported this morning that Bobby Lashley's been receiving death threats, allegedly, online as a result of all this.
I think this
is that going to affect how WWE book this at all?
I don't think so. I would imagine that even Lashley himself will just think nothing matters that much. So I'm in this for as long as I'm in this, and then suddenly I'm out of it. Like, we're a year removed from him doing assault courses on Raw or having to pie off fake sisters. Like, he is a man, Bobby Lashley, to boil this down into just an example of him, he is a man that has been failed by this company time after time after time after time. So he's probably lost faith in anything really mattering and making a difference.
Yeah.
So these death threats now, as hideous as they are and as ugly as it is for a wrestler to be receiving that based on a wrestling storyline, I'd like to think that he'd also be wise to think, well, this storyline will be in the bin by Christmas. So what matters to people now won't matter to people within weeks. A death threat, I would hope, and I would hate to be on the receiving end of something like that, but a death threat to a wrestler is surely the same as about 3,000 comments of Twitter vitriol. It's there, it's noise, and it's ugly, but then it's gone because, as Murray kind of points out, they're in the content game, and part of the content game is that a lot of it's really disposable.
Yeah, I think there is quite a strong chance, and we haven't broken this down yet, but I think there's a very strong chance that the death threat thing was a work, purely because I think the title of that video was "How well does Bobby Lashley know Lana?" or whatever, and it was all kind of like, I don't know, getting to know each other. It feels like there's a chance that you just said that to kind of put this thing over as controversial and clickable, but obviously you don't want to hear about people getting death threats and stuff. But I did enjoy Bobby Lashley going, well, I mean, if you want to make a death threat, I'm not hard to find, because that man would obviously rip whatever nerd's arm off and beat them to death with it. It'd be probably quite funny to watch. But yeah, I cannot speak enough of my perverse enjoyment of this silly story.
How do you see Divorce Court going tonight?
A huge kickoff where Jerry Lawler is kind of required to either stand between the warring men and then get just billowed out the way by Bobby Lashley, bowled off to one side. So the thumbnail shows them at the most dramatic. It's all I can think about is how daft this will look in a way that you'll want to look at the pictures in the WWE.com gallery, or you'll want to watch the YouTube video. I think there should probably be violence between Rusev and Lashley at this point.
Yes.
There should be. But I think it's more about just how many daft things can appear on screen at the very same time. Ideally, if WWE can slow the footage down so that somebody getting an upskirt of Lana, they'll probably take that as a bit of a freebie. Oh, we didn't realise that was still a PG product. They'll have that as well. They won't mind. And Paul Heyman's Raw thus far has had no problem objectifying women like it's the Attitude Era all over again. But I just think that's what they'll look for. They'll look for the biggest, gaudiest visual representation of this that can be digested really quickly.
It's going to be awkward trying to do this because Rusev presumably wants to tear Bobby Lashley limb from limb from what he's done and said in recent weeks and months.
Now Rusev's going to come down the ramp, rapping along to Kanye West Gold Digger, unveiling his new bride, Linda McMahon, and it's all going to be gravy. Rusev obviously went and somehow found the restaurant they were sitting in, and they had that stupid brawl, and he was arrested and all of this contrived, stupid nonsense. The most believable way to further this is that Rusev and Bobby Lashley... Well, Rusev tries to kill Bobby Lashley and either puts a serious beating on him or eats a taste of his own medicine. Maybe Lana distracts him and Bobo puts him off the stage or something. But it won't go that way because it's WWE and they don't know how to book believable choreographed heat between wrestlers for the most part. So for that, just give me the stupidity, give me the dumb images, give me the thumbnail that's going to get us 200,000 clicks on YouTube.
The sort of drab pre-Crown Jewel take on this, of course, is that it just descends into Team Hogan, Team Flair stuff.
Yeah.
They're both on opposite sides. You have Rusev suddenly rounded on by some of Bobby's mates from Team Flair, and then he gets saved by some of the Team Hogan guys, and it just spins off into, build for that. Oh, everybody's brawling, oh my God. That. But I'm with Murray. I'd rather see the chaos. I'd rather, for all that they're in that match at Crown Jewel, I'd rather this remain isolated and on a little weird, sexy island.
Yeah, I've given up trying to get excited about storylines as we head towards Raw and SmackDown, especially because usually what happens is someone says, "You're the mouthpiece in WWE, which must be why your breath stinks so much," and I want to die.
While I was
inside.
off ill, I was made aware that you've been broken by
Yes.
WWE. I'm going to fix you, mate.
You absolutely are not.
I am as boring as Coldplay, and I'm going to fix you. Give it time.
Yes, in a week where I'm doing the live stream for Crown Jewel, I sincerely doubt it. Speaking of things that broke me, Seth Rollins, he's going to be facing Eric Rowan in a Falls Count Anywhere
What a
match,
shambles.
which will probably finish in the ring as a result then.
Yeah.
How do you see this working? Is the Fiend going to be getting involved? And is there any way to sort of salvage this feud heading towards Crown Jewel?
This is crap textbook goldfish WWE booking that a lot of people will hail as genius because Eric Rowan used to be in the Wyatt family. I know it's a Falls Count Anywhere match on Thursday, so that is good booking all of a sudden. Nah, it's hot-shotted trash, man. I have no interest in this whatsoever. Eric Rowan, I think, is much improved as a performer. I have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do since turning on Daniel Bryan. Even as the enforcer, I thought he was very good, but he's always been a good enforcer. I think this has the potential to be another very good showing for him. But the problem they've done here is that it's the classic WWE situation of, well, this guy shouldn't be losing, which shouldn't really be applicable because you should be able to book yourself out of clean losses and other losses and so forth. But this company have proven they can. So the issue I have here is that really Seth needs to go over, right? He's got a title defense. Eric Rowan is very much, a notch or two below the Fiend on the pecking order and below Seth because Seth's the Universal Champion. But you're going to debut Eric Rowan on Raw and he's going to lose to Seth? Or what's going to happen here? Is the Fiend going to show up, even though he's a SmackDown superstar? And then you've wrecked the draft with no changes between brands already.
They already did that with Ray on SmackDown. So.
I hate this. I think it's garbage. The match might be fun, but
Is there any way, the Universal Championship changes hands at Crown Jewel. We'll talk about this more as we get closer and closer to the pay-per-view. Or any titles change hands at Crown Jewel, because that never normally happens, obviously.
Bizarrely, I think it's quite fascinating to try and figure out the future of the two titles at the moment. They're on paper, both matches seem like they've got quite obvious outcomes, and yet you can have long debates and arguments about why so-and-so needs to take this belt here, like the Fiend's as good as dead, so they have to take AOM over or put the title on him. But then SmackDown's got two titles, so then you put the world title on Cain Velasquez, and so on. It sort of spins off like that. My problem with this match, and maybe saying that I was going to fix you and then we have to talk about this, is that the cloud of irrelevance over absolutely everybody in this Falls Count Anywhere match is too thick to make any of it matter. I'm with Murray. I think this match could be all right. I quite enjoyed Rowan's work this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Seth in the right context can still be an enjoyable pro wrestler, and this can be a good. We've seen on Raw even that big bells and whistles fights are quite fun to talk about the next day, and yet Seth is dead because Hell in a Cell killed him. The Fiend.
Well, he was already half dead.
Yeah, Hell in a Cell finished him off. The Fiend is dead. This is one of them. This is my hill to die on. That even if you put the title on him as a Hail Mary at Crown Jewel, he's still dead. It's like putting the title on Bray Wyatt in 2017.
Yeah.
His lipstick on a pig and not Huskus, and not Bray because he's trying to keep the weight off. He's finished. Rowan is a guy that tried to commit murder and then didn't do the job, but he switched brands now, so who cares? So that character is kind of dead. They stripped the agency from that character.
And there's no Harper.
And there's no Harper because that was clearly just something they could bring in as a panic finish rather than any kind of actual long-term plan they were doing. I can't, as much as on the night it'll probably be all right, in anticipation, I don't think anybody should be forced to feel something for this. And I'm the patient, tolerant WWE guy, especially now that you've jumped off the boat, and yet none of them at this point are in a position where you can force yourself to care about their actions, because even when we get to Crown Jewel with Seth and the Fiend, everything that might happen there, even if it's for the best, is a make good, isn't it? It's not good booking. It's not sensible, logical storytelling. It's a make good. Yeah. It's a plaster on a gaping wound. And this match is the last step before that. So no matter what happens on the night, it'll be good in spite of itself, if it's good at all.
Right, let's talk from Seth Rollins to Becky Lynch. She's going to be facing Kairi Sane tonight, which on paper should be a fantastic
phenomenal
match. Champion versus champion.
Yeah, phenomenal on paper. In reality, I'm not convinced. I think this is another one of those matches where you can call what's going to happen. They're going to go to a screwy finish, or Becky's just going to pin Kyrie, and that'll be the end of their like little mini feud. It's transparent. It's really cynical. It's a real shame because these are two of the best performers in the whole company, regardless of divisions and genders and everything. Both of them are absolutely phenomenal, but they're not going to get the opportunity to show what they can do. I don't think. I think you'll get 10 minutes and then a crap finish, and maybe Becky will get misted and there'll be a roll up or something. But then it'll be she stole one and all this garbage. And
they're presumably going to promote NXT for this week.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm sorry. I'm very much playing Sidgwick today.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's no.
I'm the higher guy in this one. This is where like I'll never let WWE beat me in a submission. Like I can't approach Becky Lynch versus Kairi Sane for the first time and not be at very least intrigued by it and slightly more enthusiastic about it. Like I want none of what Murray said to happen, even though I think it might, and I want instead there to be a good match. It's a nice situation that the Kabuki Warriors find themselves in, that they've got the tag title match on NXT this week, because that brings back into focus the benefit of NXT no longer being the divide between the developmental and the main roster, and the way that you can use talent far more efficiently and elegantly than you might have used to have done when they were just getting blind call-ups. I'm into the Kabuki Warriors as an act kind of out of nowhere, because this Asuka Green Mist thing, as gimmicky as it is, has given her a sense of purpose again. And yeah, it probably will end in Becky getting the mist, or, there being like a schmoz and Asuka running down and maybe Charlotte making the save. But if the bigger picture is the Kabuki Warriors versus Becky and Charlotte trying to win the tag titles, that's actually storyline development I like. That's plotting I like. So this is not just match to build to a match. It's potentially high quality match to build to high quality storyline. And I'd rather think that way about it going in, and then we let down for the umpteenth time on the night.
I wish I had that faith.
I remember when I had that faith.
2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Let's keep the positivity going, though, and talk about Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre.
Don't do that to me, mate.
He's a good guy to talk about the positivity of that.
Put 2 pancakes in my hand and say, I've got the power of positivity. Everything's fine. Oh, God, this is boring stuff, lol. Like, really boring. Like, Drew McIntyre is back, and yeah, that's just great. And Ricochet's a superhero, guys. He's Spider-Man, and that's just great. But, like, these are 2 guys that, like, I don't care about either of them. And thank God it's going to be the Royal Rumble soon, because maybe I can then. But this is not the time of year for guys like Drew and Ricochet to be put on a poster and like be told to get excited about. They're not wrestlers with anything to do. They're turning into work like without assignments effectively. And it's like, right, well, you two get each other like until TBC.
Yeah.
And that TBC is probably going to be the Royal Rumble. We'll see if... Was it Paul Heyman's enthusiasm or Vince McMahon's enthusiasm for Drew McIntyre? That draft spot he got was supposedly telling, and Andrade got a top spot, and that was supposedly telling. But this is just not the time of year where those guys kind of leap out of the frame. And these guys have already kind of wrestled themselves half to death already this year. So of all the two to be pairing together, it sounds like I'm having a dig at the both of them. I'm not. I'm having a dig at their current place in this fundamentally lost system.
On paper, this should be one of the matches of the year.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the people that are going to be looking forward to this are work rate fans who saw last week's match, which was very, very good, and go, hey, well, it's more of the same thing. How can that possibly be bad? But I have a couple of problems with it. They did this last week. Right before that, Drew's previous match on television before he was injured and went for surgery was against Ricochet in King of the Ring. So they're going to 50-50 the hell out of this. That's the first problem I have. Once you kind of have a grasp of WWE's booking practices, you can see right through this crap. Secondly, I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. I think that's very clear from my previous content on this channel. But on the main roster version of Drew McIntyre is not the NXT version of Drew McIntyre. Vince McMahon took a look at this big 6'6" or whatever he is beast and decided, well, this guy needs to be clubbering big man number 275. He needs to just do clubbing blows to the back of the head and move around at 5 miles an hour and occasionally come to life with a cool claymore out of nowhere.
Say goodbye to your favourite guy, pal.
Goodbye. But we're not going to let him do any of the cool, fast-paced stuff he did in NXT, and it's really hard for me to get G'd up to watch his matches as a result. Ricochet is also a diminished version of himself on the main roster, but they really made the most of it last week. I thought Ricochet did a great job ragdolling himself around the ring for Drew's 1970s offense that Vince makes him do. And by the way, that's really egregious to me because Drew is a great action fighter. Oni Lorcan match 2017. So it's, again, because I'm such an old cynic and I've been watching this company for so long and breaking their booking practices down for so long, it's really hard for me to get excited for this, more power to you if you are. I think more people will be excited than are not, though.
My reflection on Drew's 2019 is that it takes some bad year to have fond, nostalgic reflections on the Dogs of War. But here we are. The days of him carrying Dolph Ziggler to the back like a sack of crap are the days I suddenly long for. So that's how bad a year Drew McIntyre's had.
One final thing I wanted to ask you, not just about tonight's Raw, but about Raw and SmackDowns to a certain extent going forward. Do you think there will be any sort of internal concern and subsequent change as a result of all the news we've heard coming out of that Puerto Rico live show this weekend, which was just an absolute car crash? There was people advertised.
Yeah.
It was a microcosm of WWE. People advertised who weren't wrestling. Matches, only certain matches delivered. A lot of bait and switches with either performers or matches or segments or anything like that. Is this going to be a cause for them to finally see that they need to make a change with this, with the, seemingly week after week after week praise for AEW in comparison?
I don't think so. I think the thing with WWE in these situations, and by all accounts, that Puerto Rico show was an absolute catastrophe. It sounded awful. It sounded like one of those articles I would have written about as an absolute mess and got 200,000 clicks or whatever for no reason. I wish I could have seen it. It sounds hilarious. But the thing is, WWE are Teflon.
It'll be the great Tom McGee tape of the next 20 years, isn't it? Somebody having the phone footage of this show.
The thing is, WWE's Teflon. If Raw tonight is very good, or even good, no one will be talking about it, I don't think. That's the company in 2019. There is this... they seem to have this built-in mindset that any bad, any outrage, like any 3 out of 10 show can immediately be outdone by a 7 out of 10 show the next week. If Raw was terrible and awful and the worst ever that week, doesn't matter because next week will be good, which is inherently what's wrong with their business, I think, because they've halved their Raw viewership over the past 5 years precisely because of things like this, precisely because of goldfish bowl nonsense like this. So I would, like, for any other company, literally any other company, I think that Puerto Rico show, if it was as bad as those Reddit threads say it was, it would be a big wake up. I think if AEW had a catastrophic show of that level, they had Fight for the Fallen, which had all kinds of problems and mistakes, and they've already shown that they would learn from stuff like that. I think if New Japan had a show that was received so poorly that I would hope that they would adjust and take steps forward and so forth. But with WWE and the way they kind of go from week to week and just, hey, forget about that crap this week because here's Ricochet doing a 630 on your other favorite wrestler. And hey, here's Braun Strowman doing action movie stuff. Isn't it cool, guys? Forget about the terrible thing. I think that they'll just be like, no, people are going to forget about that, so let's just put it behind there, brother.
I think when Vince got cleared of all steroid charges in 1994, it wasn't that daft neck brace he was wearing that stopped him looking back. I don't think he's ever looked back since. I think there have been a series of catastrophes, a series of terrible things that have happened, a series of great things that have happened at certain points in that man's career and in that company. And yet, I think that was a turning point for him, where from that point on, he never stopped to reflect on anything. And that nothing matters philosophy probably meant that during some really wonderful years, guys weren't allowed to stop and smell the roses and celebrate and consider. We hear about Steve Austin grinding when he was at the top of the industry, whereas now you can imagine that wrestlers would be showing pictures on Instagram of their incredible new house or something like that. John Cena was this robot that basically broke the expectations of main eventers forever. It's because Vince McMahon changed his entire philosophy to just always look forward. This show was a show that went wrong, but on we go to Raw. Raw might be good. On we go to SmackDown. SmackDown could be a disaster. On we go to Crown Jewel, and so on and so on and so on, and the machine never stops. And he determines it that way because then even storylines can't be held accountable to anything. Yeah, if something doesn't make sense this week when it did make sense last week, well, that's all right because we're already moving on to next week. So yeah, this Puerto Rico disaster becomes more of like a collector's item and a little bit of fun. And it strikes me as the type of thing where JBL, goose stepping in Germany, I remember that scandal breaking and him not getting the WWE title taken off him when a bunch of angry wrestling fans were hoping that they could weaponize the situation to get the belt onto somebody they liked. And nothing happened because ultimately nothing ever really happens. You know, we're talking about Crown Jewel in the shadow of last year's Crown Jewel and the remainder of an 8-year deal when something should have happened and nothing happened and the show went ahead. And this is like, this is small change compared to that, isn't it? You know, this is small change compared to most things. Dead wrestlers, murdering journalists. Like, all of it's small change compared to, like, Rey Mysterio being homophobic on a house show. The machine will just move on and grind on.
Well, with that in mind, look forward to Monday Night Raw tonight. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter as well, at WhatCulture WWE. Watch there. Follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett for wrestling that I like. There is plenty of it, I promise.
You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Humberto Carrillo. Remember his push. They won't tonight either.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, and make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. This has been the Raw Preview. My thanks to Michael and to Andy. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.